Hello, and thanks for watching another episode of ARFCOM News, your source for the finest 2A propaganda brought to you by TNVC.com. Today I want to tell you why we should compromise with control freaks. Go on, go ahead, light those torches and type out your angry posts, but hear me out first. For decades, I have been parroting no compromise just like everyone else, but that's only because we've been allowing the control freaks to gaslight us into thinking compromise means something it doesn't. The conversation is always about what rights we should give up, not what existing infringements they are willing to repeal. Compromise means both sides give something up, and the end product is probably less than ideal for both sides, but it's also something they can live with.
It's something that's kind of in between. It's like halfway happy.
But all the control freaks ever offer is to take just slightly less than they originally asked. They think they've bamboozled folks into believing compromise means something different, but they never actually give up any ground at all. So when I say we need to compromise with control freaks, I'm not talking about giving up any more ground. We've already done plenty of that. What I'm saying is the control freaks need to compromise. We need to call those Congress critters who claim to be pro-gun and demand they start negotiating for more than just how much of our rights they're going to let slip away this time. Look, right now, some of the most powerful insider trader, politicians in the country are meeting in metaphorical smoky back rooms to talk about what kind of gun control to pass. Both sides have more or less told us they're going to put something together and get it passed, and the uniparty is supposed to agree on the bare bones of the law in bipartisan committee before the end of this week. This thing is happening, friends. The usual authoritarian suspects have already signaled they know they can't pass the really big, crazy nonsense President Stranger Danger outlined, but they want to hustle through whatever they can and pretend it's bipartisan cooperation. The writing is on the wall, and they plan to go for raising the age for salty boys, adding some misdemeanors to the prohibited persons qualification list, and opening up juvenile records for background checks. There is a really good chance that all three of these general propositions will make it into legislation. So here's what I want you folks to do about it. The best way to stop these bills is to push back hard with some reasonable asks ourselves. Control freaks have never once ever compromised in the history of ever, and I don't see them starting now. So pushing back has a decent chance of stopping things altogether. But if we're not telling the control freaks to give anything up, this legislation is going to push through without even a speed bump. So I want you to call Arizona Senator Kyrsten Sinema at 202-224-4521 and ask her if she is willing to be reasonable and compromise. Ask her which laws she's willing to repeal in order to pass these new infringements. She is often billed as a moderate, open-minded, reasonable, fresh take. I'm sorry, I drifted off there for a second, but let's find out if she is the maverick they claim she is. Sinema is a member of a bipartisan Senate panel that's charged with creating a gun control plan by the end of the week. Now look, I know it's easy to get emotional about things you care about, but you are not doing any favors for the cause if you are rude or profane. You can use your big boy words and express yourself without embarrassing yourself, right?
Behave yourselves!
Next, I want you to call Senator John Cornyn at 202-224-2934 and tell him to demand the Democrats compromise by repealing the Sporting Purposes Clause of the 1968 Gun Control Act, 922R parts restrictions, and passing national reciprocity for state concealed carry permits. And from now on, when you talk gun rights with the control freaks at a barbecue or on the interwebs, I want you to start off the conversation by asking them what they are willing to give up. This changes the tone of the conversation. It puts them back on the defensive, and most importantly, it forces them to consider how little they really understand about existing laws. Now, unfortunately, people like us don't get a seat at the table for the sort of meetings where the ruling class negotiates over which of our rights they're going to trample on this time around. And we can't exactly articulate our position by phone in much more than monosyllabic grunts of disapproval, because it's not like the phone monkey will record detailed and nuanced points. That said, if anyone bothered to ask me, I would say fine, raise the minimum age to buy an assault rifle to 21. But you know what? Also raise the age to buy shotguns and salt-free rifles, and for voting, driving, military service, contracts, or pretty much any other adulting to 21 without a parental waiver. Perhaps instead of opening juvenile records for background checks, maybe we could just, I don't know, try juveniles as adults when they crime like an adult? And I want you folks to discuss down there in the comments which realistic compromises we could be asking the control freaks to make. I mean, it's fun to shout, repeal all the gun laws, or repeal the whole ass NFA, but that's not being productive. That's no more realistic than the other side just up and banning guns altogether. It's not going to happen. Making realistic asks like removing short barrel rifles and shotguns from the NFA or tax deductions for training puts the control freaks back on the defense, and it shifts the Overton window at the very least, even if it's a long shot to pass the legislation. So what kind of realistic, incremental steps can you think of to start taking our rights back? Hey friend, do you like pews and pew-related things? Do you want to help us keep delivering you pure, uncut American pew propaganda at the low, low price of free $99? We literally couldn't make this show if it weren't for the generous support of TNVC.com, purveyors of the finest non-GMO night vision devices handcrafted from fine Corinthian leather in the old world style. They also have mounts, lights, training, swag, and all sorts of other non-GMO gear to make you the bump in the night. And remember, if you aren't subscribed to our channel, you make puppies cry, and Captain America's very disappointed. I love you. Does your mother soap? Boom! Give her the soap top.